would help. Hi everybody, and welcome to our Business and Law live stream. Welcome for you today. This live stream is aimed at all kind of new students who are going to be starting with us this autumn. Obviously, this has been a very strange year, so you're probably going to have quite a few questions about what your university year is going to look like. Which is why we've gathered some people from our Faculty of Business and Law today to have a little chat with you about the things you can expect, try and answer a couple of your questions, do a little bit of myth busting, and basically just give you an idea of why you can get excited about starting this year. So as you can see, we've got a couple of people here with us today. I'm going to let them introduce themselves, tell you a little bit about what they do here in the faculty, and maybe what they can help answer your questions about today. So I'll start with Leanne. Leanne, I think your mic might be muted. Sorry. Yeah. I think you just need to there we go.
Hi, welcome everybody. Welcome to the faculty. My name is Leanne Domain and I'm the Associate Dean Academic. So my role is to take the overall lead on your experience while you're here at De Montfort. I look after your academic studies. I help you with any concerns that you may have, along with the rest of the excellent team that's here. Overall, what we want to do is everything that we can to help you to succeed and achieve the best that you possibly can while you're at De Montfort.
That's great. Thanks, Leanne. Next up is Ed.
Hello there, my name is Ed Thompson. I'm Associate Professor, Student Experience and Business and Law. So it's my job, along with another Associate Professor, Student Experience, to make sure that things run smoothly for you. We're very happy to have you with us, and hope we can answer some of your questions today.
That's great. Thank you, Ed. And next up, last but not least, is Maggie.
Hi, welcome to the faculty. I'm Maggie Coltis. I'm the Student Advice Centre Manager. Student Advice Centre is in a brand new annex to the building. It's where you can come if you've got any queries or concerns, you're not sure how to get help. We're there, we can advise you, we can signpost you to the correct areas. If you just want to come along and have a chat, if you're feeling unsure about anything, just pop along and come and see us, and we're always willing to listen and help.
That's brilliant. Thank you, Maggie. Are you in the yard by any chance?
We are, yes, we're in the yard on the ground floor. It's a lovely new building.
That's amazing. It's for anyone who doesn't know about the yard, it's our fabulous new extension for our business and law building. It is really amazing. I hear that it has a balcony,
Yes.
which is very exciting. So that will be something that you'll all get to enjoy, hopefully, as you come this year.
A lovely new student breakout area as well, so that's good too.
Oh, fabulous. So yeah, to explain a little bit about what our business and law faculty is, because this is the faculty that will probably be a big part of your lives as you're starting with us this year. It encompasses our business and law subjects, as you can probably imagine, but Ed can probably explain a little bit more in detail about what they do in the Faculty of Business and Law and what they cover.
Okay, so business and law is made up of various subjects, including business and law. The faculty has four departments and a law school. So we cover management and entrepreneurship as one department, politics, people and place, which is politics, public policy and HRM. We cover marketing and economics, and we also cover accounting and finance. So all of those areas come together. Different universities arrange different subject areas in different ways. And one of the things that we do differently is incorporate things like public policy and politics in our business school. And we think about them in a bit of a different way. And they influence the thinking about things in other areas. So we have quite a broad range of things going on in the faculty in terms of knowledge generation and teaching. I think it's a really exciting faculty to be in, and hope that you'll find so as well. The faculty comprises of about 8,000 students studying in Leicester, and about another 5,000 or so overseas at international partners in Malaysia, Hong Kong, the rest of China, Philippines, India, Denmark, all of whom are our students. We have alumni connections covering all of those areas as well. And I realise that things are a bit strange at the moment for everybody. When I left university, there was the financial crisis and the big economic crash, and it seems we moved from one thing to another. But there's lots of things to think about and explore. And we are planning for global opportunities and working with our international partners throughout this year and into the future as well. So, yeah, things are interesting for all of us, but hopefully you're in for a very exciting and engaging 3 years, or however
That's
long you're
great.
with us.
Thanks, Ed. That's brilliant. So like I mentioned before, this stream is really an opportunity to you to find out a little bit more about what kind of teaching that you can expect this coming year. You've probably got a lot of questions about how coronavirus may impact on some of the things that we do offer here at DMU. And as Ed touched upon before, we're hoping to sort of reorganise some of those things like those global opportunities and make sure that eventually you will have access to things like that again. So if you've got any questions about what this year is going to look like for you, what your teaching is going to look like, or anything like that along those lines, no question is too small. Just pop them in the chat and we will do our best to answer them. We might not be able to answer everything, but we will try our hardest to get you those answers that you need. I noticed that we've had one in already. I don't know if that could be popped up on the stream from Sai. Which is asking about the MBA Global, but he's asking about whether it's online or face-to-face. Now, this will probably apply to a lot of our subjects about whether teaching will be online or face-to-face. Is anyone able to kind of give a little bit more background on what level of teaching might be online, what might be face-to-face, and what students can expect?
Yeah, sure. So all of our programs, we're intending to run a hybrid of online and face-to-face. Sometimes this is called online blended delivery, where all of the big content, the stuff where you might have been in a lecture theatre with 100 other students, is likely to be delivered online. And in the vast majority of cases, that will be delivered asynchronously, so not at the same time as you're necessarily watching it. The reason we've done this is because we recognise lots of international students will be in different time zones, and it will be difficult for them to tune in for a 5 p.m. lecture over here, which could be 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night for them. The smaller content, we're moving to bigger rooms so we can deliver it face-to-face with social distancing. And we've mapped out arrangements for people to move around the building safely and in reduced numbers. So it should be a mixture. Everybody should be getting everything that they were before. We're not reducing any content in terms of the number of hours that you get for a program, but some of it will be online instead. We are increasing other things like student support hours with academic staff to make sure that you still have as much interaction as you would do, if not more, than before the crisis.
That's great. And that kind of leads on to another question which we've been asked by Sohal, which is how many times a week can they expect to be on campus? Now, I imagine that this probably varies a bit from subject to subject, but I don't know if we have a kind of broader idea of how much students might be on campus, what they can expect from that.
Okay, so we start out from a point. The first thing to say is I'm always asked on open days, how many hours of contact do people have? Well, all of our faculty, our academic staff, have surgery hours, which at the moment are 2 a week, and they're likely to be expanded further as we get into the year. So that's 250 staff with 2 hours a week, and they can be contacted by you. So you can have as much contact with people as you want. What most people found in terms of their timetables before this year was that they would have around about 9 or 10 hours of scheduled lectures, or scheduled lectures and tutorials or workshops, that kind of thing. What we have done is, in moving the lectures online and tried to keep the tutorials, we've tried to fix around about 4 hours a week face-to-face delivery on campus. That will vary program to program. That was our initial sort of planning assumptions, because some modules are delivered in ways which enable more, and some modules are delivered in ways that enable less. In some cases, some people don't have very much on campus. I wouldn't expect that to be any of you in your first year, in your first semester. That tends to be students who've chosen sort of an unusual combination of modules in their second and third years. But where that's the case, we're trying to consult with those students and see what they want to do, if they're happy with that, or if they want to change their module selections to have more face-to-face time. In terms of sort of specific questions and queries, once your timetables are out, which is coming up shortly, and I've got the dates for you somewhere. But if you check with the Student Advice Centre, they will be able to advise you on sort of program-specific queries.
That's great, thank you. I think we have actually had a question on timetables, so we could bring that up as well. I think new students are expected to receive their timetables around early October, but you might have more specific dates than that. Is that right?
Yes, it will be the 1st of October for all new students, and postgraduate and direct entrance will be the 4th of October.
That's brilliant. Thanks, Maggie. And do you know what sort of they can expect their timetable to look like, sort of the things that they might see on their timetable, what kind of arrangement it might be? Obviously, you said we are going to have some asynchronous learning. So will that be timetabled in, or will that just be a sort of like week on week expectation that that learning is completed? How will that look?
I'll let you answer that one.
Okay, right. So essentially, you're going to have 3 different sorts of activities. They will be either synchronous face-to-face delivery, which is going to be your sort of smaller workshops, things like that. To give you an idea of how social distancing is going to work, we might have a tutorial group of 20 or 25 students in a lecture theatre which is intended to seat 100. So that's sort of what those sort of sessions might look like. Do expect to see some sort of taped off seats and a lot of signage and things to make sure that people are aware of what they should be doing and where they should be going and where they should be sitting, things like that. You'll be able to identify those on your timetables because they will have a room number attached to them. The next things will be synchronous online sessions. Those will be indicated by, instead of a room number on your timetable, it will say online. And some tutorials, because we don't have enough very big spaces to accommodate all of our face-to-face or all of our synchronous tutorials, some of those will take place online. Some of them will be delivered in big rooms. The other things will be asynchronous lectures, and those are likely not to have a room number and not to have online next to them, but they will be delivered through recordings through a system called Blackboard, which is our virtual learning environment. Some of you might have used Moodle before at other institutions, but it's intended to be a sort of online portal and repository for all this information, as well as where you submit your work and get information on modules. So for each of those, in each of those cases, your timetable will indicate where you should be when, whether that's online or if it's something that you should watch in, a particular week, in combination with Blackboard and the information that's there for each module. So it might say, okay, week 2, watch this lecture in preparation for your delivery, your face-to-face delivery later in the week. I think Leanne's got something to add to that.
Yeah, no, that's really useful to share that, Ed. And I think what we'd also like to do is just reassure the students that we are prepared for a very blended delivery. So we follow the government guidelines quite closely. And so if, we are forced to remove face-to-face teaching in the future, that we do have all of the materials that are required to continue delivering the same materials to you, but in a different way. And that also accounts for those students who might have individual circumstances that prevent them coming onto campus. So if you are unable, or we're unable to offer face-to-face teaching because of changing government guidelines, you should be reassured that you will still be able to have the same experience, and there won't be a reduction in your teaching or in the resources or in the support that's provided to you. It's just that we have already prepared to be able to deliver this to you in a different way if we have to.
That's brilliant. Thank you so much, both. Obviously, with a lot of this sort of happening online, we're getting a couple of questions in about accommodation and whether students really need to be in Leicester. Now, I think the answer for that is yes, because there's a lot at the university that you can access that isn't just to do with teaching. But I don't know if you guys can go into that anymore about whether students should be getting accommodation in Leicester and what's the expectation with that.
So I understand that we're encouraging students to, if you're able to get accommodation, and we are encouraging students to come to campus, because as we said before, there's lots of different opportunities for you to engage in things. You can go to the Student Advice Centre in person. Obviously, the Students' Union will still be doing lots of activities, and there will be face-to-face teaching within your timetable. So we would encourage students to come to Leicester, and we've done everything that we can to try and make sure it's a safe place for you to come, but at the same time recognizing that every student has a different situation, and we just want to reassure you that we're here to for you to talk to and for you to explain what your situation is, so that you're able to still engage in your program in the way that we'd really like to, in the way that you probably want to. The overall point there is yes, if you can get accommodation and that you can come to Leicester, we really want you to be here.
That's great. And Leicester is a really great place to be. And, there'll be lots of things, like Leanne said, there'll be lots of things happening with the Student Union. They've organised a fantastic range of online freshers events, virtual freshers events for you to get involved in. So there's loads of reasons to be here, and it is really exciting. And like we say, we've put in loads of things in place to make sure that you're getting all the kind of the whole experience that you need for a really good first year at DMU. We've had another question about online lectures, about whether it's possible to watch them back. And I think we have already touched on this. But as you mentioned, because it's asynchronous, a lot of our lectures will be there just to access at any point in time. I don't know if this is the case for seminars, though. What will be the situation for seminars and kind of live online teaching?
Okay, so it will be a bit of a mixture. So all of our lecture content has been available through DMU Replay for some time. So we want one of the first universities to start to offer either live captured or recorded lectures in addition to our face-to-face delivery. And we started doing that about 3 or 4 years ago. Yes, if you miss a live online lecture, there will be an online version of it. It may be a recording of that lecture. In some cases, it may be a sort of pre-recorded alternative covering the same content. In terms of seminars and tutorials and workshops, they will vary. So what we're trying to do up until Christmas is offer at least one capture of a lecture. Our modules vary hugely. So we had one module last year with 2 people on it. We had another module with 1,000. And obviously we're not going to record the 50 different deliveries of the same tutorial. We would just record one in those circumstances. So certainly up until Christmas, everything that we will deliver face to face, we will have an online alternative to, in case people can't be there. But where we are putting on face to face, we would strongly encourage people to come along, because they're intended to be participative experiences. Certainly the tutorials, we're not intending tutorials to be 30 minutes, 40 minutes of just somebody talking at you. They're intended to be 5-10 minutes of an introduction, exercises, discussions, talking through the content and really getting to know it. So whatever you can, try and participate in.
I think that's really key, isn't it? That it's a conversation that's happening, and in a lot of those kind of smaller scale deliveries of seminars and tutorials and things like that, it really is about generating a discussion rather than just listening and absorbing. So yeah, definitely make sure that you're attending all the scheduled sessions when they happen. Obviously, we've sort of covered what it's going to look like a little bit. We've covered a bit about getting here and getting your timetable and what you can expect once you've got your timetable. But we're getting quite a few questions about pre-reading and books and things that you might need for your course. Now, I imagine again that this depends varies very wildly between course to course. But will people have pre-reading? Will they have specific books that they need to read? And how will they get that information if they do?
Okay, so with each of your modules, we tend to think about things on a modular level, because we have a lot of different options on some programs. So where if you're studying sort of 6 modules in business and management, say in the second year, there might be 10 options, and you don't need to do all the reading for all of those options. So each module will have a reading list or a resources list, and that's accessible through Blackboard and through the library. As soon as you're enrolled, you should get access to Blackboard, and modules should start to become available. Some of them will already be available for you as soon as you're enrolled there. Each module will have a different list of resources. Some of them will be kind of key resources, essential reading, and some will be supplementary or additional. Wherever we can, we link to sort of freely accessible resources. We can share with you some things rather than you buying a book. So wherever we can, we do. But each one's going to be specific to the module, and they'll be all set out in the module guides. If you have anything that you really want to know immediately, you could email ask@dmu.ac.uk, which is the library's email address. Anything that you're not sure about, by all means email them, and that's ask@dmu.ac.uk. Anything from, I can't find the reading list for this module, please could you send it to me, to how do I reference a podcast, to can you tell me where to get a journal, they can support you with that. But hopefully in fairly short order, you should be able to access all the reading lists for all of your programs. But there's nothing on any program, unless you've been communicated specifically in advance, where you need to have started reading this week, ready for content next week. We won't have expected you to have read anything before you've got a list of what you need to read.
Exactly. So you won't be taken aback by any kind of last minute suggestions that you should have read something at a seminar. You will always be told with good time to get it read. And I think that was a really good point about the library as well, Ed, that we have the most fantastic library facilities here at DMU, and so much has been put in place to kind of make sure that you have everything you need with regards to information about referencing, about all those kind of extra bits about being at uni that maybe you haven't touched on quite so much at school before or at college. We've got a huge team here ready to kind of offer you advice on anything on that, and a fantastic range of resources, both online and in person, books and online journals and stuff. So the library is a really good place to go to if you've got any questions about the reading material or books or anything like that.
Yeah, I would just add that the library does a lot more than you think it does. So they offer a lot of support on sort of using software. If you Google DMU Microsoft 365, there's a guide on not only how to use it, but how to access it for free through the university. You also have access through our university library to other university libraries all over the country. So if there's a period where you can't get to our library and you're working from somewhere else, chances are we will be able to arrange access. Just talk to our library and talk to our library and they'll be able to arrange something for you.
That's brilliant. And you can see that it's just popped up on the screen below us. So that's the address to get everything that you need library related at DMU. The next question, which we're going to look at, is one from Sohal, which is about job opportunities. I think Leanne might have some information about this to cover. So if we just pop that up, what kind of job opportunities are available from the different courses?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. I'm glad you've raised it, Sohal. I mean, you asked specifically between two different courses, and actually there isn't a difference in the opportunities from one course to another. All of the courses that you study, you will have the same access to the support that's available for you. And the aim for all of it, for all of the courses, for all of our graduates, is to help you get a graduate role when you finish with us. And so I think it's really important to stress the resources that are available to help you with your career choices, with with placement opportunities, with taking study abroad opportunities. That's embedded within your program. So throughout your studies, one of the things that we do in the faculty is make sure that we're providing you with the opportunity to develop your skills and to tailor your approach to how you apply. So we have a big emphasis on how we can develop you so that you have a good outcome when you finish with us. And then I thought maybe Ed might be able to, is there anything in specific that you can add to that in terms of perhaps an example of the support that we would provide?
Yeah, okay. So there are various resources that are available to all of our students. We have a dedicated careers team, placements team, and so on and so forth, that you can talk to about these things as you progress. The other thing I'd say is people don't always get jobs that are very tightly linked to their degree. What they do is get jobs that they work towards as they progress through their degree. So when I did my degree, I did BA Business Studies because I had no idea what I wanted to do. Towards the end of my degree, I'd specialised in public sector management. And a couple of years later, I did my PhD in emergency management, in crisis management and organisational behaviour, and looking at how emergency services deal with floods, flus, pandemics and bombings. So it was a million miles away from business, but there were lots of things in business that were very important. It's not unusual for people to specialise in an area which isn't immediately what they want to do. We're not quite the same as pharmacy, where if you qualify as a pharmacist, you're qualified to do something very specialist. People with law degrees end up working in different areas. Accountants have a tendency to end up in senior management positions in boardrooms. So my advice on those sorts of things, should I do this degree or that degree? Not sure, looking at what job opportunities are available. I would talk to your program team, and we have staff with a lot of experience in various different areas. lots of people who are in practice as well as academia, and talk to the specialist services in careers and placements, and our employability service.
That's great, thanks Ed. We do have a really fantastic careers offering at DMU, which you will find out about probably in all your induction stuff. You'll learn a little bit more about the student gateway and their careers and employability, but I think each faculty has its own placements team as well. We've had a couple of questions about placements and things like that actually, and whether those will still run. Obviously you probably wouldn't be thinking about doing a placement in your first year. That's the people who tend to do them, I think, between their second and third years. I think that's right. So that might be a little bit further ahead, but I think that we're still planning for those placement opportunities to happen. I don't know if anyone wants to talk a little bit more about can I still do a placement year?
Yeah, I think there's lots of placement opportunities, and obviously what's happening now with the global pandemic is perhaps changing those placements, but there's lots of virtual placement opportunities, and you can imagine businesses just like we are at the university, they're trying to find a new way of working. And so actually us trying to businesses are working from home more, they're trying to do very different approaches to how they're working, and so it's not necessarily the case that there's a reduction in placements or there's any question about whether you'll be able to do a placement year. It's going to be more about how you do a placement year and how that might differ from perhaps what we would have expected a traditional placement to look like. So we would still be encouraging students across all of the courses to undertake a placement year. And, we do have the tutors who are here to support you, to help you find placements and to help you apply and to help you develop the skills that you need whilst you're on the placement year. But it just might mean that what you do is slightly different. How you engage with the employer might be slightly different. So, there won't be any change in the number of opportunities. It's just how you engage with it this time that will be a bit more different to what we would have perhaps looked at before.
That's great. Thanks, Leanne.
I would just add, if I may, in terms of placements, the students who get the best placements are the students who really set their minds on getting a placement. And these places are competitive. They can be quite well paid. We had a student a few years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, on a placement which was had a placement salary higher than a starting academic salary, which was somewhat annoying to some colleagues, but there we go. Good for them. We have a fantastic team to support you in getting to those placements and getting to where you want to be. They will talk to people who've done placements before with particular organizations and say what was good, what was bad, should other people do it? What interview questions did you get? What was that process like? What should people be prepared for? So we have a huge amount of support. The other thing to say in terms of placements is that while you tend to do it between your second and third year, that's what we're sort of geared up for. Some of the placement schemes have a selection process which closes right at the start of your second year. So if it's something that you're interested in doing, investigate through your first year what you need to do by when to get the placements that you want as you go into your second year.
So the key takeaway is that it really is never too early to start thinking about placements if you want to do one, which I wouldn't have known actually. I think that you come to uni and you think that there's so much to take in, but if you've got an idea of what kind of career you might want, it's probably a good idea to start thinking about that. Thinking about where you might want to be, where you can get your experience, because as we were talking earlier about job opportunities, it can help you give you a bit more of an idea about the kind of jobs that you might want to do. We've got just had a question about your DMU future. I don't know if we have a link for that, because a lot of the things that we're covering today you can check out in your DMU future. It is our web pages that are dedicated exactly to how your learning is going to look next year, all the kind of safety measures that we're putting in place. So it's a really good place to refer back to if you do have any questions, or if there's anything from this that you think and you want to know a bit more about. It answers a load of our COVID related questions, just a bit more about what we're doing to make our campus a little bit safer, and the kind of measures that we're putting in place, what your teaching and learning will look like. So yeah, it is your handbook, your go-to spot for all things that are going to be this year is going to look like. It is really handy and really useful. I don't know if we have any more kind of generic questions that we want to put up on the screen, or any more kind of comments. Please do keep sending them in as we're going through. Oh, this is a good one. So if you do have something that you want to talk about with your tutor face to face, and yeah, you feel like an online environment might not cut it, how do you make an appointment? Is that possible? Can students still see their tutors face to face individually?
Yeah, I mean, I think probably the best thing to do would be to email the tutor through Blackboard, and if it's safe and reasonable to do so, they can then arrange to meet with their tutors, obviously in a safe area with social distancing and everything in mind. Or you've got the ability to have online chats, or to send emails through the Blackboard system. There's loads of ways that you are able to get hold of your tutors and speak to them, whether it's face-to-face or online. And we hold all the advice and feedback hours in the Student Advice Centre, so we can always let students know when the tutors are going to be available for discussions and things like that. So that's still achievable in a safe way.
That's great. And the Student Advice Centre really is your kind of one-stop shop for all your queries related to your general kind of course-related queries, I think. Is that right, Maggie?
That is right, yeah. You can anything or everything. We get questions on everything you can think of, whether they're course specific or about Leicester City itself, or bus routes, trains, anything you're unsure about. You come to the Advice Centre. If it's rules and regulations for the university, things that are specific to your course, just come here. And if we don't know the answer, we'll know where you do need to go to in order to get the correct answer, or we can intervene and speak to people on your behalf if you're finding you're not getting answers that you need. So it's definitely just pop by, and where we can help, we always will.
That's great. We've had a couple of questions about exams as well. Now that's thinking a little bit further ahead, I guess to the end of the first year, whether exams might be online. I don't know whether we know that yet, do we?
I'm not sure at the moment No, we're not sure at the moment. Obviously it depends on what the government says, how things pan out over the year. At the moment, that's something that is up in the air, but obviously as soon as there is more advice, that will be made readily available as soon as possibly known. But we are just led by government advice at the moment, as is the rest of the country, unfortunately.
I think the plan is for us to try and, where exams are on, in the programmes, that we would be trying to do them online. And that's something that the university did towards the end of the last academic year in response to what was happening globally at that time. So the plan would be that I think we'll try and do as many as we can possibly do online. And it might be not quite the same sort of as what you'd expect from a normal exam. It could be more of a sort of 24-hour timed assignment that you would do that would replicate the exam in some way, but across some subjects, I guess in some isolated circumstances, there might be a need that it has to be done face to face. And if it is, obviously we'll do exactly as you've just said, Maggie. We'll follow the government guidelines. We'll make sure that if there is an on-campus exam, that you know about it well in advance so that you can prepare for it, and that we make sure that the environment that you do that exam in is safe as well. So hopefully there wouldn't be the need to have, 200 students all sort of crammed into a hall trying to do an exam in the way that we might have done traditionally. It probably will be different this time.
And I think that is a really key thing to remember, is that all the time we are just adjusting to what the kind of government advice is, what the general situation is around the country. So these things will probably change, and the advice that we're giving will probably change, which, like we said earlier, is a really good reason to keep checking back on your DMU Future. It's still flashing up at the bottom, so you can still see where you need to go. But we will be updating that regularly to give you more idea about what the latest kind of advice is surrounding exams. If you need to know that, we will make sure that you know in good times that you're fully prepared, and that it won't come as a shock. But yeah, no, we are very much just a kind of adjusting to what the situation is at the time. I don't know if we have any more kind of questions that we want to pop up. Yeah, there's one. How do I let my course leader know if I have to self-isolate and can't attend face-to-face sessions? And I think we did actually have someone else write this in earlier as well. What do people do if they do have to self-isolate? Because that is kind of a reality for a lot of people. They might have symptoms, they might test positive. What do they need to do, and can they still carry on studying?
I think, yes, obviously, if they feel well enough that they want to carry on studying, that's fine. Everything is accessible online, so they will be able to do that. I think in the first instance, the best thing to do would be to let the Student Advice Centre know on the generic Advice Centre email address, and we can then let their tutors and their teaching teams know what the situation is and make sure that they do get information and everything that they need in order to continue with their course, and that everybody is aware of their situation.
I think it's worth adding that we have set up quite a robust test and trace system. So if we do have cases, we will be able to contact people and ensure that they're tested, and that we, minimise risk to everybody. Obviously, we'll support people who are isolating and do everything that we can for those people. But we want to make sure that people are not coming in. We want to make sure that people are not coming in while they're unwell.
And that's a good point about the... Oh, sorry, Leanne, you go.
I was just going to reiterate that point. I think one of the things we want to really try and encourage is students to talk to us and to talk to their tutor and to the advice centre, because what we don't want is a situation where you're struggling with your studies because of your situation, whether that's your city is in lockdown, you can't travel, maybe you're experiencing some difficulties at home accessing the internet, or if you're perhaps having to share a laptop with another member of the family, there's or you're just feeling unwell. What we don't want you to feel that you can't approach us about that. It's far better that you tell us about that as soon as you possibly can, because we can then help you. So we can figure out the best way to make sure that you can proceed with your studies, or if it means that you need to take a break for a short period of time, we can support you with that as well. We don't want the scenario where you're frightened or you're unsure of who it is that you need to speak to, because it makes it difficult for us to support you if you contact us too late. So we just ask for you to engage with us in as many ways you can, and you bring any concerns that you've got to our attention, whether that's your programme leader, your tutor, or through the Student Advice Centre.
That's great. And you definitely have a lot of different points of contact there, like you've mentioned. There's lots of different people that you can get in touch with. You can just flag it if you feel like there's anything that you need the university to be aware of. It is best just to let us know, because there's probably a lot of things that we can do, a lot of things that we've put in place, and different support systems which are here to help you, and we can tell you about and point you into the right direction to. Like Maggie was saying earlier with the Student Advice Centre, even if we don't know we don't know the answer ourselves, we'll make sure that we put you in touch with someone who does know that answer, and who can help you kind of find the next steps, give you some advice, give you some guidance. We have loads of different amazing services here at the university, which are really, really helpful. So that is definitely a really important thing to take away, I think.
Yeah, I just second that and say that we have, amongst others, mental health support for welfare if you are experiencing hardship, if you can't afford food, then we have support services. Sorry, Siri keeps buzzing up in front of me. We have support services which can help sort those issues out, and our main priority is to make sure that you're safe and well. So it may not be we have a solution immediately, but we have people who are there to help you.
That's great. I just wanted to touch on something that you did also mention just a little bit back, is our test and trace kind of program. We have our own DMU Safe Trace at DMU, which you can find out about in your DMU Safety. Again, this is another part of our website which is entirely dedicated to all the measures that we're putting in place to make our campus more COVID secure. So you can download it on your phone, and then there'll be a little QR code in each of the sort of rooms that you might access. You just scan that QR code, and it's all part of our tracing system, so that you can, we can just keep you informed. Sorry, I just think we've got some a couple of questions about start and end times of lectures. Sorry, Leanne, did you want to talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I think it was just there's a few questions about what's the earliest time and what's the latest time that lectures would be. Now, we wouldn't normally have lectures that go late into the evening, but I think that the best thing to do is to see the timetable when it's released. So you will have access to your timetables from the 1st of October. And if there are any of those sessions that you have difficulties with because of the time that they start or finish and how that might relate to situations that you have in your personal life that could affect your attendance, then you could speak to your tutor or the student advice centre. Ed or Maggie, I don't know whether there's anything that you wanted to add about that in terms of when the timetable might start and finish in the day.
So we have a what we call a tripartite concordat between staff, the university and students. And it says things like we won't expect students to have a timetable that lasts more than 8 hours a day. We won't expect students to have a timetable with more than 3 lectures or 3 hours of lectures back to back, so people get a break, things like that. This year it's been flexed a little bit because of restrictions on rooms. But essentially, I think we're working on the basis of, for undergraduate students, nothing earlier than 9 o'clock, nothing later than 6 o'clock. It may be that there've had to be some changes or exceptional circumstances which are beyond that, but I think that that's the planning assumption that we've been working on.
Definitely. And I think the key thing is as well is that, remember, we have all been getting used to kind of a very strange year. People are aware that people will have personal things in their own lives that might make it difficult for you to attend certain sessions. That is just a reality of life that we are able to accommodate. We really are here for you to chat to if you have any issues like that with childcare issues and timings of your sessions and things. Please do just get in touch with your student advice centre, with your tutor, because we're all human and we'll be happy to listen to any kind of issues that you think you might have, even if you're not sure that it will be a problem. We just want to be here to help.
And we've had some really unexpected problems that we've dealt with students over the years, and I promise you most of the time we've been able to resolve it with you and make adjustments to make sure that everybody's getting what they need.
We've had a question about Induction Week. I think that the information for this has gone out quite recently about what students can expect in their Induction Week. But what's the kind of starting steps for being at DMU? What can students expect over the next few weeks, and for settling in and their induction timetable and things like that? Do we have any information about that?
Induction schedules are all being mailed out to the email address provided at registration. And once they've got that, obviously that does give them a detailed structure of what they'll be doing. The idea is it will give them an introduction to their course team, to their course, to the library, to Blackboard and DSU and everything that is available within the university. So it gives them a good grounding during the first week to help start on the course. And so it's not such an unknown when you do actually start. You're given the tools to set you up to start having some knowledge about what you're going to need to be able to do in order to complete it. They should have all gone out by the end of today. If anybody hasn't got their induction timetable, they can actually contact the Student Advice Centre. It's studentadvicecentre@dmu.ac.uk, so it's quite easy to remember, and we can then assist with that if anybody has got any issues with that.
That's great. And we have a question about a student who's asking when they can choose what language they study with their course. I imagine that this is probably the case for a lot of modules or specific modules that people might have the chance to choose. Do you know when they might be able to make those kind of selections, or will most of the stuff be sort of pre-assigned in the first term? How will this work?
In terms of English, well, that's a good question. The English language, modern foreign language with IR, in this case, international relations programs, are quite specialist. And what I would suggest is checking with your program leader. We have quite a wide range of programs which are set up with languages. But they're spread across the university, so it's something that's coordinated from another faculty rather than ours. But what I'd suggest is contact your program leader. They'll be very familiar with the process and make sure that we get your selection in time for when classes start.
That's great. So yeah, again, just get in touch with your program leader. They've been through this all before. They'll have all the answers about your specific courses. We do offer, like Ed said, a massive range of courses. And if you have any kind of individual course specific questions, they are really your best port of call. Do we have any other questions that we need to pop up, or is it sort of, here we go. How do I access online content? I know that there was a question earlier about Blackboard and how people access that and when they might get the login details for that. But how will students generally be able to access the online learning? What kind of digital tools will they need for that?
I think our IT services team have put together a really good handbook for all students, which goes through the different ways that you'll be able to access that content. And I believe that handbook's available to you within the induction links. Ed and Maggie might be able to confirm how we're going to share that, but I know looking through it the other day, it was useful for me as a member of staff, so I'm sure it'll be really useful for you as students too.
Yeah, so that is a really useful piece of content. And again, like all this stuff that we're mentioning today, we'll provide the links for it in Your DMU Future and Your DMU Safety. You'll be able to find all the information there. So it is a really good place to refer back to. I think we'll probably wrap this up quite soon because I think we've gone through pretty much most of the questions. But again, if you do have any questions, please just get in touch with your Student Advice Centre. As we've said, they're really friendly, they're really happy to help, and they'll put you in touch with the right people. If you have any questions about induction or the next few weeks, what that's going to look like, we do have some pages on Your DMU Future about your student welcome. So I think that the web address for that is you just visit the Your DMU Future one pages, which are just flashing up below, and then if you click on Your Student Welcome, it will give you all your induction and registration information that you might need to know, best contacts for that if you have any questions about registration, and where you need to go to next. But I don't know if there's anything that you guys want to kind of finish up by adding, or anything that you feel like students need to know, or probably would like to know before they come next week and in the next few weeks.
I think what I would say is, there's a lot of discussion around sort of academics in terms of what we try to give students, what we try to provide, and an awful lot of it is about opportunity. It's really rewarding for us when students come to the end of their degree. We've known them because they've been working very hard the whole way through, and they come out with not only the degree result that they deserve, but also a fantastic experience and a job lined up, or at least within their sights at the end of it. Really make the most of every opportunity. Do talk to people about what you want to do, what your intentions are. Staff actually like students. You know, it's fine if you've got a problem with an assessment, come and talk to us. But what's even better is if you come and talk to us and say, actually, I found that lecture quite interesting, or I didn't quite understand this. Can we talk through it? You know, there's lots of support for you there if you want it, if you need it, if you'd like it. Really make the most of every opportunity.
I just want to confirm what Ed had said, actually. I mean, we're really excited about the students coming back. As academics, we really miss you. We miss the students when they're not here. You know, Leicester's too quiet right now. You know, we can't wait for the students to come back. But again, you know, we want to support you. And you know, De Montfort's a really inclusive university. We will listen to you. We want to hear your views. We just want to make sure that you engage with us, and so that we can help you the best way that we can.
I'd just like to say that we're looking forward to meeting you all as well. It's very exciting to have people here in the new build now that we're here, and we're really looking forward to, as Leanne said, having students back and having a bit of noise around the place again. It's been far too quiet.
Oh, that's lovely. So again, just to summarise, if you do have any questions, your best port of call is your student advice centre, is your personal tutor, is your faculty. You know, they're here, they've done it all before, they know your subjects inside out, and they will help you, point you in the right direction to the questions that you have, even if they don't know the answers themselves. So please, don't be a stranger and do get in touch, and we can't wait to see you all on campus soon. See you, everyone. Bye.
Bye.